An impaired driver has injured you or killed someone you love. The driver pled guilty or was found guilty after a trial. One of the few ways you can participate in the justice system is through a victim impact statement. It's your chance to explain to the judge the impact that the crime has had on you, your family, and your life. You can also submit a victim statement to the Parole Board of Canada when and if the offender applies for parole. This video will answer commonly asked questions about victim impact statements. What is a victim impact statement?
A victim impact statement, which is submitted to the courts, is a written statement that describes the physical, emotional, or economic loss that you've suffered as a result of a crime such as impaired driving causing death or injury. Judges must consider victim impact statements when they decide on an appropriate sentence. A victim statement, which is submitted to the parole board, is a written statement that describes the physical, emotional, or financial impact you have suffered because of the impaired driving offense. The Parole Board of Canada must consider a victim statement if the driver has applied for parole. Your statement can also include a request for special conditions to be imposed on the driver when they are conditionally released.
I was not in the crash, but my child was killed. Can I submit a victim impact statement?
Yes, if you lost a loved one in an impaired driving crash or a member of your family was injured, you may submit a statement.
Do I have to do a victim impact statement?
No, victim impact statements are voluntary, so you should not feel pressured to do one.
I want to write a statement, but I don't know how to start.
Victim impact statements are difficult to write. It can bring back many painful emotions and memories. Getting started may be the hardest part. It may help to write down points you want to make. You can then use those points to prepare your statement. MAD Canada can provide sample statements from others who have been impacted by impaired driving to help you.
It feels pretty impossible when you first try to sit down to write a victim impact statement. How do you write words that can properly convey how much all of this has affected your life?
The process for me was long. It's not something I just sat down and did in one day. One thing at a time as to what I wanted to say, and then I tried to fit it within the guidelines of the victim impact statement.
You're feeling that emotion, jot it down, put it away in a file for later, and then once you put it all together, it'll take you hours and hours to do because you want to make it perfect.
Every time you try and write something to put it together, you relive it every time. Yeah, it was excruciatingly hard. Because my son didn't deserve to die.
What should I say?
Most statements address three things: the emotional, financial, and the physical impact of the crime. For the emotional impact, you may explain how the crash has made you feel, the distress and trauma you and your family have experienced. You can describe how the offense has impacted your lifestyle, your relationships, your work, or education. Some people are afraid to drive or be in a car. They may relive the crash or have nightmares. If you lost someone, you may want to describe that person and your relationship with them. For the financial impact, you may include all expenses you have incurred, such as medical, counseling or funeral expenses, costs for therapy, costs not covered by insurance, loss of income, etc. For the physical impact, you may describe the physical injuries you or your loved one suffered. There may be ongoing physical pain, physical limitations, and any health issues you may face in the future because of the injury.
So important that your voice be heard, or the family, if it's of a deceased one. It needs to be done because it's not just the charge. This is someone's life that you've changed forever.
Write as much as you can.
Stay within them guidelines.
Just try and stay within the guidelines. Get help. Go to the victim services people. Go to MAD Canada. Go on the internet, look at examples.
If there's something that you feel that is not within them guidelines, maybe try to put it in a different phrase, reword it, try and turn it around somehow so you can include that because it's important to say what you need to say.
It's so important for the judge to know what kind of person was taken from this world.
I kept going back to it a bunch of times over and over. Tried to explain our story, and I tried to start from the beginning and explain the type of person that my husband was, and the type of relationship we had, and from my boys, like how amazing of a dad he was. Grief in itself is overwhelming, and then trying to have to express that grief is very hard.
Writing the impact statement was definitely beneficial for my healing, to get it out on paper. Even though it was really hard to write, I believe just putting it out there, I think that was one of my first steps of allowing people to understand what I'm going through, because for the first little while I was really closed off. I didn't want to talk about it, and that was the first step of feeling comfortable of letting people. So it definitely was beneficial for me.
I want my statement to affect the sentence. Will it?
Judges consider a lot of information from various sources, including probation and parole officers, defense lawyers, the police, Crown, etc. Your statement is one piece of information. It's rare that an impact statement would make a judge give a harsher sentence, but statements can help inform their decisions. Your statement should be focused on the impact of the crime on you. It should not include an opinion or recommendation on the sentence. Your statement should not include any unproven allegations or offenses you believe the offender may have committed but which he has not been convicted of. It is possible you will be asked to edit your statement if you address any of the issues listed above.
When we were in the courts, most of the times that the judge would reflect on the circumstances, she would always refer back to what we had said in our victim impact statements. It did serve a purpose, and it was our voice, and the fact that she kept going back to what we had said, I think was powerful.
Like I said, there's no fixing my situation, so it was more of trying to prevent other people down the road from having the same sort of loss that I did. I had hoped that it would start the change of trying to create harsher sentences.
Just for the criminal justice system in itself, just for the legal system in itself, and for how penalties are given, to let them know how serious this is and how it's affecting people.
I don't want the offender to get parole. Will my statement help?
Parole boards also consider a lot of information from various sources, including sentencing reports, psychological assessments, reports from parole officers, and so on. If you submitted a statement in court, the parole board will have a copy, but you can prepare a new one. There are fewer restrictions for statements presented at parole hearings. You may express your opinion about parole, concerns for your safety, and suggest conditions if the offender is released. Because parole boards focus on risk, not punishment, you may focus on the risk you believe the offender poses to the community.
How do I know if the judge or parole board will read my statement?
Judges and the parole board are required to consider your statement. You may submit it in writing, or you may choose to read it out loud in court and at the parole hearing. If you choose to read the statement, you must submit a written copy in advance, and you must not deviate from the prepared statement when you read it. If you lost someone, you may hold a photo of your loved one when you read your statement. If you were injured, you may hold a photo of yourself prior to the crash.
Will I be questioned about my statement?
You can be questioned about your statement in court, but it is very rare. You should discuss any concerns with the Crown. You will not be questioned about your statement at a parole hearing.
Why does the offender get to see what I wrote?
Your statements are used to help make decisions that impact an offender, either in terms of a sentence or parole, so he or she has the right to see them.
Will the media report on my victim impact statement?
Maybe. If the media attends court or a parole hearing when you read your statement, they may report on it.
Where can I get help preparing my statement?
You should speak to your local victim services about preparing your statement. MAD Canada can also provide support while you prepare your statement and can provide sample statements so you can see what others have written.
Victims and survivors of impaired driving are MAD Canada's #1 priority, and we hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions about writing a victim impact statement or about MAD Canada's services for victims and survivors, please call us at 1-800-665-6233 or visit our website at mad.ca. Thanks for watching.